It was a cold and quiet night on Earth. The stars above looked peaceful, like tiny lights in a dark sea. But something was coming, something that would change everything, far above the clouds. An old military satellite blinked for the first time. In years, it had once been used to detect alien threats. Now, it was mostly forgotten, but tonight, it picked up a strange signal. The message was short, just a few words, but those words carried a secret from the stars. It said, "He is the one who saved me. Tell him." The Queen remembers. The computer tried to understand it but failed. Only one man could truly understand. His name was Captain Aiden Cross. He lived alone now, in a small cabin near the mountains. He had left the army years ago, people thought. He was crazy. They said he believed in aliens, in wars that never happened. But the truth was, he had lived it. 10 years ago. Aiden had been part of a secret mission in space. No one knew the details. Not even his closest friends. But during that mission, he had saved a young alien girl. Her name was Alara. She was injured, scared, and hunted by enemies Aiden had risked his life to protect her, and then she was gone. He thought she had died, but now the stars were calling again. The moment the message reached Earth, a hidden device in Aiden's old bag started to glow. He hadn't seen it in years. It was a gift from Alara, a crystal-like communicator only she could activate. Aiden stared at it, heart racing. "Impossible," he whispered, but the message repeated. Louder this time. "She's alive," he said. His hands shook as he picked up the device. Far in space, behind the moon, a cloaked ship waited. It was not from Earth, inside. Alien eyes watched Aiden's face appear on their screens. The Queen had spoken, and they had found the one she needed. One of the alien guards nodded to the pilot. "Prepare the landing," he said. Back on Earth, Aiden stood outside, staring at the sky. A wind blew through the trees, but he didn't feel cold. His mind was full of memories. The war, the girl, the promise he had made. "I'll protect you." He never thought she'd remember, but now she was a queen. He went inside and opened a metal box hidden under the floor. Inside was his old uniform, his medals, and a small photo, Alara smiling. He had kept it all this time. Somewhere deep in space, she had become something greater. But why now? Why send the message after all these years? Was she in danger again? Or was something worse coming to Earth? That night, Aiden couldn't sleep. He sat by the fire, staring at the glowing crystal. It pulsed like a heartbeat, then suddenly it spoke. Captain Aiden Cross said, a soft, alien voice. "This is the royal vessel of Queen Alara of Netherian. You are being summoned." Aiden stood, stunned. The voice continued. "A ship is on its way. Be ready." Then the crystal dimmed again. Aiden looked up at the stars. He knew what was coming. He was being pulled back into a world he had tried to forget. But something told him this was bigger than before. In the distance, high above the Earth, a shape moved through the sky. Silent, invisible, but fast. It was the ship from Netherian, and it was almost here. Aiden put on his old jacket and stepped outside. He whispered to himself, "You remembered Alara." Oh. He didn't know what to expect, but he knew one thing. He had to go. As the stars watched silently from above, a beam of light surrounded him, and then he was gone. The sky above Earth was quiet, but space was not. Behind the dark side of the moon, something shimmered, a shape, smooth like glass, but hard as steel, drifted closer to the planet. It was the Royal Star Cruiser of Netherian, invisible too. Human eyes, it had come for one person, inside the ship. Strange symbols glowed across walls of silver. Alien crew members moved in silence, their eyes bright with purpose. At the center stood a tall figure wrapped in royal armor. Her silver cloak waved like it was alive. Her face was calm, but her eyes held a storm. She was Queen Alara, and she had returned to find the man who once saved her life. 10 years ago, she had been just a scared girl running through a battlefield of stars. Now she ruled an empire of 5 worlds, but peace never lasts in the galaxy. A shadow was growing. She knew only one human could help stop it. Down on Earth, Aiden Cross awoke in a bright beam of light. His body felt weightless. Then he blinked, and the forest. The mountains, his cabin, were gone. He was standing in a large room made of crystal and metal. Alien air filled his lungs. Strange. But not dangerous. The room was quiet, except for a hum, like the heartbeat of a giant machine. Aiden turned slowly. Before him stood a young woman, not the child he remembered. She wore a crown of light and armor that shimmered like the stars, but her eyes were the same. Alara, Aiden whispered, not fully believing it. She smiled, soft and sad. "You remember?" she said. "How could I forget?" Aiden replied, stepping closer. "You were just a kid. And now you're a queen." Her voice was steady, but there was pain beneath it. "Being queen is not what I wanted. It was forced on me when my people fell. There was a war," she said, "and it's not over." Aiden listened as she explained. There had been peace for a while, but a powerful enemy, her cousin Lord Vecker, had returned from exile. He wanted the throne, and he would burn planets to get it. He had already stolen secret weapons from ancient places, and now he was looking for something hidden on Earth. "You once protected me," Alara said, her voice quiet. "Now I ask, you too protect your world?" Aiden didn't answer at once. He looked out the ship's window, where Earth hung like a blue jewel in the dark. He had promised himself he was done with war. But something inside him stirred again. Duty, honor, maybe even guilt. "You trusted me once," he finally said, "and I trust you now." Suddenly, alarms rang across the ship, red lights flashed, and alien soldiers rushed to stations. A message came in. An attack. Alada's eyes narrowed. "It's him," he found. Us before Aiden could ask more, the ship shook outside. Smaller ships with black wings appeared from the shadows. They fired strange weapons, tearing through space like lightning. The royal guards fought back, but the attackers were fast and brutal. Aiden grabbed a fallen guard's weapon. It was different, but he adapted quickly. He covered Alara as they moved toward the escape chamber. "Go," he shouted. "They're after you. I won't leave you again," she cried. But the guards pulled her away, and she vanished in a flash of light. The ship shook harder. Aiden was thrown to the floor. Smoke filled the halls, and fire danced across the metal walls. Then darkness, somewhere deep in space. A silent pod moved away from the wreck. Inside it, Alara sat, her face pale, her eyes full of fear. She didn't know if Aiden had made it, but she knew one thing. She would return for him, back on Earth. Radar stations picked up strange signals. Governments around the world went on alert. No one knew what was coming, but the stars were know. Longer quiet Aiden's story was not over. In fact, it had just begun. Aiden opened his eyes slowly. He was floating, not falling, not standing. Around him, weightlessness, silence, stars blinking through a transparent shield. He was alive. Inside a survival pod drifting through space. But something was wrong. His head throbbed, his body ached, but his memory was sharp. The attack on Alara's ship. The explosion, the last thing he saw, her face disappearing in light. He had survived, but was he safe? A soft robotic voice spoke from the pod's console. "Rescue ship approaching. Identification. Royal code verified." Aiden's eyes narrowed. He wasn't sure who was coming, a friend, or another hunter. Moments later, mechanical arms pulled the pod into a docking bay. As the door opened, bright violet light spilled in. Figures stepped forward, cloaked in silver and gold. A tall alien with glowing blue eyes bowed slightly. "Captain Aiden Cross," he said. "Her Majesty awaits you." Aiden stepped onto the strange metallic floor. The air smelled different, sweet, with a hint of burning metal. He had entered Netherian's capital ship, the Aurora Crown. It orbited a planet covered in crystal mountains and silver oceans. Alara's world he was about to walk into. The heart of an alien empire. Inside the throne chamber, silence ruled. Alien nobles stood along the curved walls, whispering in a language Aiden didn't know. And at the far end, on a throne made of light and living stone, sat Queen Alara. But her face was different now, not gentle, not soft. It was the face of a ruler carrying 1,000 burdens. When she saw Aiden, her eyes changed, just for a second. She looked like the girl he once saved. Then the mask returned. "You're alive?" she said, standing, barely. Aiden answered, "You sent a beautiful ship, then it blew up." A few nobles chuckled softly, quickly silenced by Alara's glance. "My cousin wants to remove anyone who stands with me," she said, "especially you." Aiden looked around the chamber. He could feel the tension. Not everyone here trusted him. To them he was a human, an outsider, a soldier from a distant, primitive world. One alien general stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Why should we trust this man? What can one Earthborn warrior offer the throne of Netherian?" Aiden didn't answer with words. Instead, he walked toward the center of the chamber and dropped to one knee. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small glowing stone. The crystal Alara had once given him. He placed it on the floor, and it lit up, showing a memory Aiden as a young soldier, standing in front of a burning ship, protecting a frightened alien girl. The chamber fell silent. "He saved the life of your queen," a voice whispered. "He carries the bond stone," another said. Alara stepped down from her throne, her voice strong. "This man once stood between me and death without knowing who I was. Now he will stand beside me again, as a guardian of the crown." But the peace did not last. As the chamber began to empty, a warning came from the outer systems. An outpost near the edge of Elaraz. Territory had gone dark. No messages, no ships returning. Aiden listened carefully as the report continued. The only thing left behind was a symbol burned into the surface of a moon, a twisting black mark. The crest of Lord Vecker Alara's face turned pale. "He's not just after my throne," she said quietly. "He's searching for something ancient, something lost." Aiden looked at her. "What is it?" he asked. She hesitated. "There was a time when Earth and Netherian were connected," she said. "Long before humans knew the stars, our worlds shared a secret, a weapon. Buried deep in your oceans, built not to destroy, but to stop. Something far worse." Aiden stared at her. "You're saying Earth is part of this war now?" She nodded. "And if we don't act fast," she said, "Earth will be the first world to fall." Outside the window, space shimmered. The stars were quiet again, but not peaceful. A storm was coming, and the hero Earth forgot was about to face his greatest battle yet. Asterisk. He walked through the ancient halls of the palace. Not as a soldier, not as a hero, but as a man caught between two worlds. Aiden Cross had faced war, pain, and death before. But this was different. This was a silent war. Hidden in whispers and shadows, the enemy wasn't just in space. He was already inside the palace. Alara had trusted her court, her family, her people, but now she could trust no one. Not after what she saw on the outpost moon. Vecker's black mark burned into the stone. Not after the royal data core went missing 2 nights ago. Someone close had betrayed her inside the strategy room. A 3D map of Netherian space hovered in the air. Flashing red points marked systems lost to Vecker's growing power. "He wasn't just stealing territory. He was hunting for something, Alara," Aiden said. "You said he's after a weapon on Earth." She nodded, her face tired. "He believes it's a key to a lost machine, something that can rewrite the fabric of reality. We only have stories, legends," she added, "but Vecker, he believes it's real." Aiden stared at the map. If this weapon truly existed, and Vecker got it, Earth wouldn't just fall, it would burn. The galaxy would follow. But before they could stop him, they needed to find the traitor, the one feeding him secrets. In a dark tower of the palace, hidden from normal eyes, Aiden met the seer. An old alien woman who saw not just the present, but the truths buried in the past. She sat in silence, her eyes covered with silver cloth, without moving. She spoke. "The traitor is blood," she said, "close enough to call the queen by her true name. But wears no crown." Aiden understood at once. A member of the royal family, but not Elar's brother or cousin. Someone with power, but not the throne. That night, the palace hosted a silent dinner. No music, no smiles, just tension. Ilara's uncle, Lord Malric, raised a glass to peace, he said, but his eyes said otherwise. Aiden watched him carefully. Malric had once been commander of the royal guard. Now he advised the council, always calm, always quiet, too perfect later. Aiden sneaked into the council chambers. Using a stolen code from one of Alara's guards, he accessed a secret log. And there it was, a message sent to a ship near the Vecker border. Ulrich's seal, his signature, proof, before he could report. He was caught. 2 guards knocked him down, held him by the throat. Spying on the council is treason. One said, Aiden smiled, blood on his lips, only if you're loyal to traitors. They dragged him before Alara. Her face was torn. Anger, confusion, heartbreak. Why were you in the chamber? She asked. Aiden didn't speak. Instead, he dropped the data crystal. The message appeared in front of her, glowing bright. She read it in silence, and then for the first time, she cried. Uncle Malric, she whispered, you raised me. You taught me to lead. He stepped forward, his voice calm, and you failed. Child, he said, you let a human become your sword, Alara. You were meant to be a queen. Not a weakness. Guards moved, blasters raised, but Malric wasn't afraid. He pressed a button on his robe. A distant boom echoed across the palace. Then a second, smoke rose from the lower towers. Explosions, targeted, precise. It was a signal from the shadows of the sky. Black ships began to descend. Vecker's fleet had arrived, cloaked and ready, waiting for this very moment. Aiden grabbed Alara's hand. We have to move, he said, but Alara stood frozen, her crown heavy, her heart breaking. My own blood brought this to my gates. She whispered. More explosions shook the palace. Walls cracked. Lights shattered. Panic spread. Guards fell back, trying to hold the doors. Aiden pulled Alara toward the emergency lift. We'll come back for your throne, he promised. But right now, we survive, as they disappeared into the escape tunnels. Aiden looked back. The alien throne stood empty, smoke curling around it. The queen had lost her crown. But she still had her life, and beside her stood a human hero. With fire in his eyes, rain poured down on Washington, Tokyo, Cairo, and London, and still, the sky above Earth didn't look right. Clouds moved faster than normal. Lightning flashed in patterns that seemed controlled, far above the planet, just beyond human vision. A massive structure hovered. It wasn't made of steel or stone. It was alive. Biomechanical warship from Vecker's fleet. Hidden by dark energy and cloaking tech, it had arrived silently, secretly, to begin the first phase of invasion. And it wasn't looking for war. It was looking for a weapon buried deep beneath Earth's oceans. In an old underground base in Greenland, Aiden stood in front of a UN Emergency Council. He wasn't wearing his old uniform, but he had never looked more like a soldier. This isn't a theory, Aiden said, pointing to the map. This isn't a meteor or a drill, or some science fiction story. He pressed a button. An image of the alien fleet shimmered into view, captured by Alara's advanced probes. They're here, they're waiting, and they're not here to talk. Most of the council didn't believe him. But one did, General Lucia Torres of Earth. Defense Command. I've seen this kind of stillness before, she said. Before a storm. Alara stepped forward. Dressed not as a queen but as a warrior, she had left her throne behind. Choosing to protect Earth, Aiden's world, over her own, Vecker, is not just after power, she explained. He believes Earth holds the key to a lost system that can reshape stars, wipe memories, reset time. He wants to erase his enemies before they are even born. Silence filled the room. No one knew how to fight that. Meanwhile, under the Pacific Ocean, something ancient stirred. In the deepest trench, far beyond any submarine, a structure began to glow. A circular gate, miles wide, covered in runes, slowly began to spin. It had not moved in thousands of years. Now it responded to a code, a signal only Vecker could send. He had found it at that moment. The sky above Earth cracked. A ripple of dark energy split the clouds, and one of Vecker's warships uncloaked. Visible for the first time, panic exploded across the world. Social media shut down, satellites jammed, air traffic stopped. Every major government activated their highest alert. Aiden watched it happen from the base's main screen. This is just the beginning, he said. We don't stop that ship now, Earth won't survive the week. Back on Elara's Starcruiser. Orbiting just behind Earth's moon, her loyal forces stood ready. They were outnumbered, but not afraid. Aiden entered the control room with Alara beside him. "Never thought I'd defend Earth from something like this," he said. Alara looked at him. "You saved me when I had nothing." She said, "Now I save your home." But just as they prepared to launch the counterattack, an emergency signal came through. An old voice spoke from Earth, deep, sharp, and familiar. "Captain Cross," it said, "this is General Riker." Aiden froze. Riker had been his commander 10 years ago, the man who led him into space during the first alien contact mission. He had disappeared after the war, presumed dead, but now his voice was on an encrypted channel, and he wasn't alone. "I've joined Vecker," Riker said, "because I've seen the future. Humanity dies in every version of it unless we choose to evolve. You can fight for Earth if you want," he added, "but just know, you're on the wrong side of history." Aiden's hands tightened into fists. Betrayal cut deeper than any alien weapon. Alara stared at him. "Who was that man?" she asked. "The man who taught me how to fight," Aiden said. "Now I have to unlearn everything he gave me." As Earth's skies filled with shadow and flame, the countdown to invasion began. But this time Earth wasn't alone. It had a queen, it had warriors from other worlds, and it had Aiden Cross. He had saved a girl, she became a queen, and now, together, they would save a world. Asterisk, the stars above Earth had never looked so close. But tonight they didn't feel like wonder. They felt like warning. From New York to Nairobi, people stared at the sky. Strange lights hovered at the edge of the atmosphere. Military bases scrambled. Jets, governments pointed fingers, and fear spread faster than fire. But this time, Earth was not alone. High above the planet, hidden behind Earth's moon, the fleet of Netherians stood still, watching, waiting, not as conquerors, but as protectors inside. The royal flagship, Queen Alara, stood beside Aiden Cross. She looked at the holographic image of Earth with quiet sadness. "Your world reminds me of ours," she said softly. "Bright, full of life, and yet always on the edge of war." Aiden didn't reply. He was thinking about something else. A memory burned into his mind. The last words of General Riker, his old commander. "You're on the wrong side of history," Riker had said, but Aiden had seen Riker's eyes. He wasn't just a man lost. He was a man convinced he was saving the world by destroying it. "We need more than weapons," Aiden said finally. "We need allies, not just ships, but hearts." Alara nodded. She turned to her lead advisors. Alien warriors and scientists with glowing robes and quiet minds. "Begin the connection," she said, and deep in the ship's core, an ancient device began to hum. It was called the Voral Chain, a communication crystal older than both Earth and Netherian. Once long ago, it had connected civilizations across the stars, but it had not been used in centuries. Now it lit up again, and through it, Earth's leaders saw Alara face to face for the first time. The message was short. "We are not your enemies," she said. "Our enemy is already among you." She showed them footage of Vecker's invasion ships, cloaked and hidden. She showed them Earth's deep ocean structure, spinning, glowing, preparing to awaken. She told them the truth. The ancient defense system buried under Earth was never meant for war. It was meant to seal something away. Something dark, something older than stars. "We built the gate together," Alara said. "Our ancestors, yours and mine, we locked the darkness out. Vecker wants to unlock it again." The Earth Council was silent. Then one voice spoke, General Lucia Torres. Then, "We stand with you," she said. "If this is humanity's test, we will not fail it." In that moment, something impossible happened, for the first time in history. Humans and aliens signed a battle code not on paper but in mind. The Voral Chain linked hearts, not hands. And in Aiden's mind, he felt it: unity, pain, courage. Millions of lives whispering the same words: protect Earth, protect the stars. The alliance of two worlds was born, but peace was short. Alara's ship shook suddenly, alarms blaring. "Vecker's fleet is breaking the atmosphere," shouted a technician. "They're heading straight for the ocean gate." Aiden ran to the command deck from the window. He saw them, dozens of dark, jagged ships tearing through clouds like burning knives. They weren't here to conquer. They were here to activate the weapon, to rip open the gate and bring the darkness through. Alara turned to him. "We must reach the gate before they do," she said. "We need someone who understands Earth's code." Aiden nodded. "There's someone," he said, "but it's a risk." Minutes later, ship hovered just outside a hidden Arctic base. Inside was the last living architect of Earth's ancient defense tech, Dr. Lena Hargrove. She had been locked away for years, blamed for an experiment that nearly killed half a city. But now Earth needed her again. Aiden stood in front of her cell. She looked older, harder, but not broken. Said they'd come back, Aiden. Said. She smiled coldly and no one listened. She whispered, "We're listening now," Lara said. Stepping forward, Dr. Hargrove stared at the alien queen. Then she touched the glowing voral crystal. In that moment, she saw the truth, the weapon, the gate, the darkness, and she whispered, "You're already out of time." Aiden looked at the countdown flashing red on the console. Vecker had begun the activation. The seal was breaking, and Earth's skies were turning black. The sky was no longer blue above the oceans. A black storm spun like a living shadow. It wasn't weather. It was the gate waking. Twisting space around it, below the waves, the ancient seal had cracked open. Light and darkness pulsed from the deep trench. Not natural light. Something older. Something wrong. Something that should have stayed sealed forever on the command deck of the Aurora Crown. Ilara stood still, her eyes locked on the spinning storm far below. "The gate is opening," she said, voice calm but hollow. "If he succeeds, this won't be a battle. It will be extinction." Beside her, Aiden cross-checked the weapon systems. His hands moved fast, but his mind wasn't just on war. It was on Earth, the forests he walked as a boy, the sky he used to dream under, and the promise he made to a girl who had become a queen. In orbit, Earth's fleets were losing ground. Vecker's ships moved like shadows, bending light and firing beams that melted steel like wax. But the Alliance held the line. Human and alien pilots fought side by side, together for the first time. And maybe the last. Deep inside the gate structure, Vecker stood at the core. He wore no armor now, only robes of black energy. His body glowed with power, stolen from forbidden places. He touched the final glyph, and the seal cracked open. A scream echoed from the deep, not a sound but a feeling. Rage, hunger, cold. The darkness had awakened, back on the surface. Dr. Hargrove's fingers flew across the console. Her face was pale, sweat running down her skin. "I can slow it," she said, "but I can't stop it alone." Aiden looked at Alara, then at the crystal bondstone still hanging around his neck. "You said this was made to lock the gate," he said. She nodded. "It needs a living source to trigger the reset, someone connected to the Earth. Someone who carries the bond." Aiden stepped forward without a word. "No," Alara said sharply, stepping in front of him. "You've already saved me once. And again, and again. It's my turn now." But Aiden looked at her with tired eyes. "You're not just a queen anymore," he said. "You're hope. You're the future. I'm just a soldier who keeps promises." She touched his face, tears shining in her eyes. "You're more than that," she whispered. "You're the reason we still believe." Before she could stop him, Aiden took the crystal and ran into the launch bay. One last fighter was ready. He climbed in, heart steady. The sky ahead was burning, but he flew straight into it. Vecker stood at the center of the storm, laughing. Energy swirled around him like a god reborn. But then, a single ship broke through the clouds. Fast, precise, glowing blue. Aiden's voice came through every open channel. "This ends now." He crashed through Vecker's shield. The crystal glowing white hot in his chest. Vecker screamed. As the ship struck the gate's core, a flash, a quake, silence, the storm vanished, the seal closed, the sky cleared. And the gate was gone. Above, the fleet watched in silence. On Earth, the wind returned, soft and warm, and in space, the war ended, not with a weapon, but with a man who kept his word. Hours later, In the royal garden of Netherian, Alara stood. Beneath the stars, the people had gathered to honor the one they now called the human flame. She held Aiden's bondstone in her hand. It still glowed faintly, as if whispering, "I'm not gone. I'm just waiting." But then a soft signal came from deep space. A voice, quiet and worn, Alara had said, "Next time, don't wait so long." Her heart stopped. The bondstone pulsed. He was alive. Somewhere in the stars, Aiden Cross was still fighting, still watching, and Earth was no longer just a lonely blue world. It was part of something bigger. Two worlds had become one, not through war, but through loyalty, sacrifice, and a promise kept in the face of darkness. And this was just the beginning.